We're going to go ahead and go part 2 with this, turning from the living God. Take you therefore good heed. We're reading from Deuteronomy 4:15. Take ye therefore good heed unto yourselves, for ye saw no manner of similitude on the day that the Lord spoke unto you in Horeb, out of the midst of the fire, lest ye corrupt yourselves, and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of a male or a female, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. And lest thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the host of heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them and serve them, which the Lord thy God hath divided unto all nations under the whole heaven. But the Lord hath taken you and brought you forth out of the iron furnace, even out of Egypt, to be unto him a people of inheritance, as ye are this day. Furthermore, the Lord was angry with me for your sakes, and sware that I should not go over Jordan, and that I should not go in unto that good land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance. But I must die in this land. I must not go over Jordan, but ye shall go over and possess that good land. Take heed unto yourselves, lest ye forget the covenant of the Lord your God, which he made with you, and make you a graven image of the likeness of anything which the Lord thy God hath forbidden thee. For the Lord thy God is a consuming fire, even a jealous God. When thou shalt beget children and children's children, and ye shall have remained long in the land, and shall corrupt yourselves, and make a graven image, or the likeness of anything, and shall do evil in the sight of the Lord thy God, to provoke him to anger, I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day, that ye shall soon utterly perish from off the land whereunto ye go over Jordan to possess it. Ye shall not prolong your days upon it, but shall utterly be destroyed. And the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Lord shall lead you. And there ye shall serve gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. But if from thence thou shalt seek the Lord thy God, thou shalt find him. If thou seek him with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, when thou art in tribulation, and all these things are come upon you, even in the latter days, if you turn to the Lord thy God, and shall be obedient unto his voice, for the Lord thy God is a merciful God. He will not forsake thee, neither destroy thee, nor forget the covenant of thy fathers, which he sware unto them. For ask now of the days are past, which were before thee, since the day that God created man upon the earth, and ask from the one side of heaven unto the other, whether there hath been any such thing as this great thing is, or hath been heard like it. Did ever people hear the voice of God speaking out of the midst of the fire, as thou hast heard, and live? Or hath God essayed to go and take him a nation from the midst of another nation by temptations, by signs, and by wonders, and by war, and by mighty hand, and by a stretched out arm, and by great terrors, according to all that the Lord your God did for you in Egypt before your eyes? Unto thee it was showed that thou mightest know that the Lord, he is God. There is none else beside him. Out of heaven he made thee to hear his voice, that he might instruct thee. And upon earth he showed thee his great fire, and thou heardest his words out of the midst of the fire. And because he loved thy fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them, and brought thee out in his sight with his mighty power out of Egypt, to drive out nations from before thee greater and mightier than thou art, to bring thee in, to give thee their land for an inheritance, as it is this day. Know therefore this day, and consider it in thine heart, that the Lord, he is God, in heaven above, and upon the earth beneath. There is none else. Thou shalt keep therefore his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee this day, that it may go well with thee, and with thy children after thee, and that thou mayest prolong thy days upon the earth, which the Lord thy God giveth thee forever. So, what we have is like a great amnesia where everyone's forgetting the Lord our God, who's in our Declaration of Independence. Nature's God and nature's God intended. That all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That they sign this declaration, this creation of the beginning colonies, with protection in divine providence. So, when we forget the covenant that our fathers, my fathers and your fathers, my mothers and your mothers, our ancestors made with God in this, to give liberty and life and the pursuit of happiness, to let kindness and charity and integrity rule in the land by serving God and not idols, and not letting other men rule over us because they grew giants and rich, is the covenant to our God. And if we lose this, if we don't return to this, like they left us the Statue of Liberty and Freedom, Bill of Rights, Declaration, things where people didn't rule over you, where everyone got a personal choice and no one could throw you in prison for your personal choice. That's bullshit. It's against the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, Sixth, Seventh Amendments. I mean, this is preposterous to let idols rule over God-made people. I mean, this is the civilized world. If anybody wishes to choose something on their own, nobody else should be able to pay to pass a law to profit off tearing apart my family or my freedom, or my neighbors, or my neighbors' neighbors. For love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, mind, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. And in this you'll fulfill all the commands of God. So, we had the Tower of Babel. If we turn to Deuteronomy, I think we went, through 4:34. Now we'll do 34:10 through 12. Deuteronomy 34:10 through 12. And that was Deuteronomy 4 that I read all that from. But go to Deuteronomy 34:10 through 12. And there arose not a prophet since in Israel like unto Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face, in all the signs and the wonders which the Lord sent him to do in the land of Egypt to Pharaoh, and to all his servants, and to all his land, and in all that mighty hand, and in all the great terror which Moses showed in the sight of Israel. So, I mean, when we look at what God did for our nation, our colonies, how we beat a giant England that hadn't been beaten in 700 years, with savage Indians on this side, an ocean on that side, no navy, no guns, but we went in God's divine providence. I mean, to see his mighty hand save us from such an oppressive force that hadn't been beaten, and so it was impossible odds. And they went with the impossible God, why the word itself says, I am possible. We just need to return to the living God, and God will do the rest, but we need to definitely voice that. Isaiah 8:12 through 13. Say ye not a confederacy to all them to whom this people shall say a confederacy, and neither fear ye their fear, nor be afraid. Sanctify the Lord of hosts himself, and let him be your fear, and let him be your dread. So we just need to fear God, not fear running out of money. I mean, we're killing people, refusing orphans and refugees, thinking they're coming to rape and kill us when they're just out of water. I don't understand why we don't take them in. I don't understand why we're arresting, shooting, and killing our own kids and neighbors and ourselves because we wish to choose something different than their damned policy. We don't have to pay to be free. They have to have a case against us. They can't just lay down a rule and tell us how to live our lives. We have a God. We have a Christ. We have a gospel. We have Holy Scripture. We have the Spirit of God, for Christ's sake. Do we need anything more? Clearly, our founders did not need anything more than God. I mean, it's kind of the end all right freaking there. But if you need that blood and sacrifice, proving that government, religion, and business suck ass, well then just look at them crucify the Son of God, who was perfect, proving that man and all his devices is kind of, well, evil. Guess that's why our law, our only law, are the Bill of Rights, which is rights and not laws to restrict. If you go to Jeremiah 32, seriously though, our only law is the Bill of Rights. It's the only thing's not allowed to be changed, but you see them constantly trying to do bullshit with it. Take away guns, search and seize you, pull you over. It's harassment by tyrants looking to make money off us. We all know it, so why the hell are we allowing it to happen? It's treason, it's racketeering, it's theft. It's mob mentality. It's king. It's judge. I mean, we might as well go back to freaking England. The judges are not allowed to rule in our lives. They're to rule over us citizens taking each other to court. Period. They're servants. They're public servants. They're not rulers. You're the ruler. A government of the people, by the people, for the people. The cop doesn't rule over you. He is your public servant. And without a warrant in his hand, he has no power over you unless you are doing a crime, as in hurting somebody. Criminal. Crime literally, legally means to destroy property or to hurt a person. So if you're not being criminal and they don't have a warrant, they're your servants. These are people who signed up to serve you, to be Christ-like, to protect you and serve you. And judges are in the same vesture. This is why the judicial has no check and balance. They've stepped way out of line. They're in treason, racketeering, blasphemy against Declaration, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution. And they've instituted us as though we are idols, as though we're companies. And they're treating us like we're companies, but we're not. So, I mean, God is God, and we're free in God. Me, my son, my wife, my family, my nation is free in God. If they want to pull that tyrant king bullshit money, you got to pay for some shit, they need to take that back to England. Because, I mean, there's a whole list of my fathers and your fathers, my mothers and your mothers, our ancestors bleeding out on battlefields, suffering, giving it all to get us this liberty and freedom. Endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Liberty means to choose for oneself. Whatever drugs we want to do, however we want to do it. To be able to drive a car without having to pay somebody to do it. Our taxes pay for the roads. You don't get to restrict us past that. That's bullshit. It's all company money-made crap. And it's only supposed to be for businesses. The only ones that are allowed to pull over and search are trucks moving mass quantity business. Business is what the government's to regulate, not the people. The government is made to institute the rights of the people, not to restrict them. So whenever they're restricting it, they're selling out to companies, corporations, and treating you like you're a commodity, which is blasphemy. And I'm sorry, but I don't feel my neighbors, my nation, my son, my wife, or anybody is a freaking property. We're made by God, and that makes us better than the damned idols that anybody could ever make. So, I mean, the living God kind of made this clear in the order that it goes. That when you make something with your hands, you become like Cain, and you'll kill people for it, which is bullshit. So, I mean, our whole revolution, our whole foundation is based on these rights and these truths to be self-evident. You know what I mean? Hence Mark 7:14 through 23, that anyone that judges you for anything you put in your body, anything, they are the defiled ones. They are the ones in blasphemy. They are the ones in foolish judgment. They are the ones in foolish pride. And so anybody that would try to rule that are trying to serve spirits that are demonic in nature, and they just need to be woken up to their liberties and freedoms in Christ. Jeremiah 32:21. We'll do 20, start with 20. Which has set signs and wonders in the land of Egypt, even unto this day, and in Israel, and among other men, and hast made thee a name as at this day, and hast brought forth thy people Israel out of the land of Egypt with signs and with wonders, and with a strong hand, and with a stretched out arm, and with great terror, and hast given them this land which thou didst swear to their fathers to give them, a land flowing with milk and honey. And they came in and possessed it, but they obeyed not thy voice, neither walked in thy law. They have done nothing of all that thou commandest them to do. Therefore thou hast caused all this evil to come upon them. And all God has asked us is, what we made our covenant in is to be free. Everybody equal. One can't rule over another. One doesn't have to serve idols. One is free to serve God. All our founders did was institute that Declaration of Independence and our government in the Bill of Rights to echo what God has already said. And so us taking that away is causing us to leave prisons and walls and kill and shoot our own kids, and causing all these tensions that are not needed. I'm just pulling up this word here, 7650. Literally, it's one of the most beautiful documents ever written. So, that thou didst swear, Shabbat, which means a primitive root properly to be complete, but used only as a demon to seven oneself, i.e. swear 7 times a juror charge with an oath, feed to the fool, take an oath, straightly cause to make, to swear, a verb meaning to swear, to take an oath, to make, to swear an oath in the passive reflexive stem. The verb means to swear, to take an oath. Abimelech and Phicol asked Abraham to swear his kindness and integrity to them and their descendants. So kindness and integrity is a huge part here. The Lord swears by himself, since there is nothing greater to swear by. God swore to multiply and bless Abraham's descendants. So God swore by his holiness to lead Israel into captivity for, I'm assuming, for their sins, in Amos 4:2, to cause someone to take an oath. Abraham made his servant swear an oath to get Isaac a wife. So, in this posterity and kindness, now God has not taken an oath with our nation, but our founders, our ancestors, our relatives took to God in divine providence. And it says to let the judge of all the earth, or let the ruler of all the earth judge our cause. All right, let's see. While evil is sufferable, their duty, the history of the present to prove this. I'm looking for it right now in the Declaration of Independence. Published, declares, states, absolve. independent states, all things. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. That's at the very end of the declaration. It says, assembled, we therefore the representatives of the United States of America and General Congress, assembled appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these United States colonies are, and of right, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown. Well, that's strange, because we seem to be going back to that. And that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may have right to do. Now you notice how it doesn't say rule in personal lives, making you choose where you lose liberty. They're talking of commerce, of trade, not in the personal life of the individuals, making them servitude to these corporations, which they're abolishing, getting rid of. And for the supportive declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Now that's my fathers, your fathers, my mothers, your mothers, our ancestors, our blood that fought this revolution to get us free. In the one God, in the Creator, that we are all endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. So if we go to Jeremiah 32:21, so we went through that on the kindness. So now we'll go to did swear, integrity, kindness, liberty, freedom, walls. So you can notice the heritage that they left us is all good things. Liberty, freedom, God, Declaration, Bill of Rights, and so forth, where we're trying to leave walls, prisons, tyrants on the road, pay the toll to a troll on the road that showed up on the road that your fathers built with their sweat and blood, that was free to drive on. And then after they passed away, then they come back and say, well, now you got to pay this guy. Why? And so it's absurd when you look at it, because clearly they were paid to do this. But they're servants. They're not allowed to tell you what to do. You have a Bill of Rights. You have God who makes you free. David went before the giants of the Philistine with the living God. He didn't go with men's hands or armies or power. Walls of Jericho came down by the living God. Gideon and the 300, representing the clay pots, represent mankind. And when we admit our brokenness and our frailty, how we go astray, then God's light can shine forth. Babylon in a night fell, with a prophet telling them it was going to fall, and that it's the Lord God that's going to undo them in a night. They were secure in their golden calves, their idols, their riches. Assyria the same way. Israel fell for 1700, first to Babylon, and then Assyria was used to build them up. Then God took out Assyria. All this by prophetic message, telling you what was going to happen before it happened. Israel lost its nation for over 1700 years, keeping its nation like God said they would, and then God brought them back with not a shot fired, not army, not might, not of men, but of the Spirit of the Lord, as God said he would. In 1947, Israel walks into their country, just as the Lord said, fulfilling a 1700-year exile and about a 2500-year prophecy. In 1776, Washington in 1776, our 13 colonies declared war against a huge giant nation the sun didn't even set on, impossible odds, but we won. Look at the Battle of Boston, the ocean froze. Look at the first Battle of Washington, where the fog came in. They couldn't see their hand in front. Washington got to escape. Tons of miracles in that war. God gave it to us. We definitely were led by the invisible hand of God into freedom, into liberty, to let liberty shine, to be charitable, to be kind. Whereas Statue of Liberty is the wife of the Lord. It's wisdom, it's love, it's knowledge. It's not excelling one's idols over another. And you can see how it's rampant in this nation today, that everybody is honoring their jobs, their companies, their houses, their cars more than they are their death covenants with their spouses. And I mean, what this teaches the children is just, well, it's just not good. I mean, we can sit here and pick it apart all day long, but all of us are found liars, whores, sinners, and adulteresses before God. We just need to turn back to God. For God's mercy shall endure forever. Yea, the Lord's mercy shall endure forever. 32:21 brought forth that people to swear. So we did them up on the mountain. Remember that the triangle laid out flat on 2D is 60 degree by 60 degree by 60 degree, which is in ancient times 666, because they didn't use zeros till about 400 or 500 AD. From the Arabs, it became much more of a connotation of zero. So we have literally 180 degrees turns you away from the one true living God. So if you look at all the play buttons, you'll notice how they're insulting God. And this has been done by India and Delhi with Vishnu, Krishna, and Vishnu in Delhi, India, with the begotten Son, who God sent, came into Delhi. It's been done in Egypt as Osiris, Isis, and Horus, after Egypt served the one God for 3,000 years and then turned to a three-triune God. Babylon did the same thing with Midrock, Orion, and I can't remember the other one, but Assyria did the same thing. The Nazis were a idolatrous law and order nation, but really it was the altar of Baal and occult mysticism, turning from the one true living God. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Stand firm in the freedom for which Christ has proven you free, unless you be enslaved again. Neither is there any creature that is not manifest in God's sight. All things are naked and open to the Lord. The eyes of him are upon all his creation. So just repent to the Lord in everything that you do. God is living. So don't turn to an idol. Turn to the living God. Seek him out while he can be found, or she. It's neither. You can't image or add a sex to God. That would be blasphemy. If you do one, you better do the other. If not, then don't do it, because it's neither. God cannot be imaged or likened to anything. It is blasphemy to do this. So when you use him or her, it is only a descriptive of carrying over that which you're discussing, and not anything in the likeness thereof. God is not a man. He does not get sweaty balls, and he doesn't have an ego and pride, and he's not a woman where he has a menstrual cycle or what have you. The Lord thy God is unimaginable, unknowable. You can know of him, but you can't know him in full. So unfathomable is how scriptures read it. So turn to the living God, the creator of all creation. The Lord thy God is merciful, and the Lord will heal you. and hopefully our nation. Hopefully we turn back and stop treating people like idols and slaves, and stop subjecting to lies and fear. Hopefully we answer to our sacred honor in divine protection, with life and fortune. Because if you're not willing to give that, well then kind of to hell with you, because your ancestors did it for you. And now you won't do it for your children, but you'll build prisons and walls and be greedy as shit. Why? Curses come down for lying-ass idolatrous people that you know are lying and greedy. Anyways, God bless. Serve the one true living God. Forgiveness, mercy for everybody. Don't be going out into the streets rioting, unless that's where God tells you to. Just do what God tells you to. For me, it's usually suffer. But God bless. Suffer and stay faithful. God bless, and I pray the Lord be with you. Keep fighting that good fight. It's everything worth fighting for. It's everything worth dying for. God bless.